Go find another place to die. You're worthless now. Those words didn't just hit me, they crushed every piece of my reality as I stood frozen in the doorway of what I believed was our home. Gregory, my husband, sat lounging at the dining table, face carved in stone, eyes colder than winter steel. Not a flicker of sympathy, not even recognition. 15 years together, and he looked at me like I was a stranger who'd wandered in by mistake. And beside him, his vulture of a sister, Denise. Arms folded, smirk twisting her face like she'd been waiting for this exact moment to watch me break. My name is Evelyn. I'm 37. And until that moment, my entire adult life revolved around this man and his family. I abandoned my career as a financial consultant to pay Gregory's bills and push him through business school. I became his father's caretaker, sacrificing sleep dreams, my youth. Spending holidays serving his entitled relatives who never once saw me as anything more than a live-in maid. And this was my reward. Gregory, what are you saying? My voice trembled, fragile, as if one wrong breath would shatter me completely. This is our home. Was your home? Denise cut in, savoring every syllable. Daddy left everything to Gregory. Every stock, every property, every penny. And Gregory's finally realized he doesn't need a parasite dragging him down. I stared at my husband, waiting, hoping, praying he'd deny it. Stop this, remind me of the love we once shared. But all I saw was a man who'd already erased me from his life. The will was read yesterday, he said, voice dead and empty. I inherited everything. $33 million in investments. The Seattle estate? Vermont property? All of it. And now, it's time you leave. My knees turned liquid. Leave? After 15 years? 15 wasted years, he sneered, stepping toward me. You haven't worked in over a decade. No income, no property. My father supported you. And now, he's gone. And so is your purpose here. Pretending? The word fell from my mouth like someone else had spoken it. Denise's laugh sliced through the room like a blade. Oh, come on. Everyone knew you married him for money. You were some failing consultant who latched onto a golden ticket. That's a lie. But it didn't matter. Their minds were made of stone. I could scream the truth until my lungs bled, and they would still only see what they wanted. I want you gone by the end of the week, Gregory finished. Take your clothes. Nothing else. Everything stays. The furniture, the artwork, the jewelry I gifted you over the years, all of it belongs to this house, not you. Think of it as payment for 15 years of free room and board. His voice was ice. His words? Acid. I stood rooted to the floor, numb, my brain refusing to accept what my ears already knew. Was this real? This man I once adored, the man I built my life around, was discarding me like expired trash the moment wealth touched his hands. Where am I supposed to go? I hated the crack in my voice, the way it sounded small, human, breakable. Gregory didn't even bother to face me. Not my concern anymore. You're a smart woman, Evelyn. I'm sure you'll figure life out. Try employment. Could be refreshing. And then Denise slithered forward like the venomous little snake she'd always been. My brother supported you long enough. Time to wobble on those legs and see if they still work. Assuming you remember how to stand without him. I could have screamed. I could have clawed their smug faces or hurled every truth they deserved straight into their smug skulls, but rage wasn't, strength strategy was. So I turned away, silent and shaking, and headed for the bedroom. One. Name only one came to mind. I grabbed my phone, breath unsteady. Lawrence. It's Evelyn. I need help. Lawrence, a friend from college. Brilliant. Loyal. The lawyer who drafted our prenup back when stupid, naive love convinced me I'd never need it. Evelyn? He said, instantly alert. You sound shaken. What happened? Gregory kicked me out. His father left him everything. 33 million, multiple properties, and now he wants me out by tomorrow. No support, no assets. Nothing. Silence. Heavy. Thick. And then laughter. Not soft. Not polite. Lawrence laughed like he'd just heard the greatest joke of the century. Lawrence, what? This isn't funny. Tears burned behind my eyes. Humiliation sat sharp in my throat. Oh, Evelyn. He finally breathed, still laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at your idiot husband. My God, he really thinks he can do that? He's about to choke on the consequences he deserves. My heart stalled. What are you talking about? Give me 5 minutes. Check your email. What you're about to see will turn this entire situation on its head. Before I could ask another word, click. Call ended. I stared at my phone, pulse trembling as a new strange sensation crept into my chest. hope small but alive. A spark in the ashes he thought he left me in. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the silent phone like it held my future. Beyond the door, I heard Gregory and Denise laughing, celebrating. My downfall toasting my ruin. Let them laugh. Let them enjoy their little victory, because something told me the storm coming for them wasn't just justice, it was me reborn in fire. And soon, their laughter would turn into screams. My thoughts spiraled backward, dragging me through memories I once painted as love, loyalty, sacrifice. But with clarity ripping through me now, I saw the truth. It wasn't a marriage. It was a slow suffocation dressed as devotion. It began 16 years ago at a networking event in Minneapolis. I was 21, bright-eyed, hungry, armed with a finance degree and a junior consulting job I was proud of. Gregory was 25, polished, charismatic, standing in a tailored suit funded by his father's investment empire. He spoke like success already belonged to him, and anyone beside him would rise. Too, and like a fool drunk on fairy tales, I believed him. I mistook ambition for integrity, confidence for character. When he proposed a year later, I didn't hesitate. Love makes you brave. Naivety makes you blind. The cracks began quietly. His mother had died years before, and his father, Walter, had remarried Juditha, woman who arrived with a daughter and an ego large enough to fill a ballroom. Denise, 3 years younger than Gregory, raised on entitlement and cruelty like it was mother's milk. From day one, she despised me. Montana? She'd sneered at our engagement party, eyeing me like I crawled out of a barn. So rustic. Don't worry. Money polishes everyone eventually. I should have walked away right there. Instead, I laughed it off and clung tighter to the illusion I'd built around Gregory. Walter was polite but distant, cold, calculating, and obsessed with control. He pushed for a prenup. Gregory called it a formality. I had nothing to my name but student loans and ambition, so I signed, trusting the man I thought loved me. Lawrence had tried to highlight certain clauses, but I was too busy choosing flowers and believing I'd found forever. After the wedding, I gave everything. Gregory's father demanded results. Gregory demanded a wife who made his life seamless. First, I balanced it all, my consulting. Job is business dinners, charity events, hosting family holidays, where Denise treated me like hired help. But slowly, Gregory tightened the leash. You're never home. I need support, not competition. If you loved me, you'd help build my future, our future. So I quit my job. I shelved my career, my dreams, my identity. I didn't realize then that I wasn't joining his world. I was disappearing into it, and he let me fade. Worse, he expected it. Every sacrifice I made became invisible. Every piece of myself I gave up became proof I was worth less. Looking back, I see the pattern so clearly. It burns. Red flags weren't missed. They were ignored, smoothed over by hope and loyalty. But now hope was dead. Loyalty was a corpse, and I was done being the woman who broke herself for him. He wanted me erased. He thought he'd already won. What he didn't know was this: when you push a devoted woman into the dirt, she doesn't disappear. She learns how to rise as something sharper, something dangerous. The pieces he tried to break were stitching themselves back together, and what would emerge wouldn't be his obedient wife, but his reckoning. Do you really need to work, Evelyn? His voice from years ago echoed in my mind, smooth, persuasive, poisonous. I remembered sitting at our dining room table, exhausted from a client deadline, while he looked at me like I was inconveniencing his life. We don't need your income, he'd said, pouring himself scotch like a king dismissing a servant. My father compensates me well, and it's important you're available when I need you. At first, I fought. I loved my work. It gave me purpose, identity, independence. But Gregory didn't argue. He eroded. Guilt disguised as concern. Logic sharpened into chains. We don't need your salary. My family expects a certain image. Wouldn't you rather avoid the stress? Piece by piece, he convinced me to give up the world I'd built, and like a loyal fool, I agreed. Just for now, I told myself. Just until we have children. But the universe had other plans. Children never came. Years of trying 2 brutal rounds of fertility. Treatments I watched my body bruise, my hope bleed out in sterile clinic rooms. With each negative result, Gregory pulled farther away, as if my pain was an inconvenience to him. Maybe it's for the best, he'd finally said, shrugging. Kids are expensive. They complicate things. I shattered silently, and instead of grieving, I built walls and perfected my smiles. If I couldn't be a mother, I would be the ideal wife. I became the silent backbone of his world. I hosted his networking dinners, smiled through the sneers of his family, and poured every ounce of my existence into a life that was no longer mine. Then Walter got sick. Parkinson's slow, merciless, relentless. And Judith, his polished statue of a wife, suddenly became fragile when responsibility appeared. Denise? She was too busy jumping from brunch tables to charity galas, never once lifting a finger for the man who raised her, so it fell to me. I became his caretaker, nurse, scheduler, emotional anchor. 3 years of medications, doctor visits, trembling hands, fading memories. Gregory was too busy, but he praised me constantly, warm, words that felt like currency payment for devotion he never intended to repay. You're incredible, Evelyn. Dad is lucky. We all are. I held onto those words like lifelines because I believed I was building future loyalty, a family, a legacy. Denise mocked me openly, Walter's unpaid nurse. She'd sneer, but I ignored her venom because I thought Gregory saw me. I thought he valued me. Then Walter died. 3 weeks. Ego Gregory and I stood side by side at the funeral, held his hand as he delivered a heartfelt eulogy that moved an entire room to tears. Denise clung to him like she was auditioning for Widow of the Year. Judith sat with a face carved from stone. I believed we were grieving together, believed we were a team. When the will meeting happened yesterday, Gregory told me not to come, just legal housekeeping, he said, straightforward. He came home silent, distant, unreadable. I assumed grief had hollowed him. I didn't know then that he was rehearsing and mourning, preparing to tear apart the life I bled myself dry to uphold, preparing to replace companionship with cruelty, love with betrayal, devotion with abandonment, and soon I would learn the truth that while I was planning a future with him, he was planning a future without me. But fate has a way of balancing scales, and he had no idea the storm he'd just awakened, because when you take everything from a woman who sacrificed her soul, you don't leave her empty, you leave her dangerous. I should have sensed the storm the moment Denise strutted in with that smug plastic grin plastered across her face. I should have known the whispered hush-hush conversation behind Gregory's office door wasn't grief, it was plotting. But no, I was still the loyal fool clinging to the illusion of love, right up until my husband looked me in the eyes and basically told me to get out and die somewhere else. My phone vibrated. Lawrence's email, my breath caught. I opened it with shaking fingers, my heart hammering violently like it already knew my entire life was about to flip upside down, except not in the way Gregory planned. Subject line, read this carefully. Do not tell Gregory yet. I tapped the attachment, Walter's will, but it wasn't the will itself Lawrence cared about. No, it was the paragraph glowing in neon yellow on page 7, a little legal landmine. Gregory never saw coming. I read it. Once, then again, slower, my pulse beating. Like war drums, any transfer sale or disposal of assets over $25,000 requires written approval from Gregory's spouse Evelyn, witnessed by 2 legal parties. Failure to obtain said approval triggers immediate transfer of 75% of all assets to Evelyn. My vision blurred. I wasn't reading, I was devouring Walter, the man I bathed, fed, and sat with through trembling hands, and fading breath had seen the truth long before I had. While I was busy believing in family, he was quietly building a shield around me. Then Lawrence's note. He added this clause 3 years ago, right when you became his caregiver. He wanted to see if Gregory would love you without money involved. I think we both know the answer now. Don't tip him off. Let him run straight into his own grave. He inherited 33 mailers, he'll start moving money immediately. Every attempt triggers the clause. Call me when you're ready. We're going to make sure he regrets every cruel word. A laugh burst out of me, wild, shaking, half sobs, half victory. Walter hadn't just protected me, he'd laid a trap, and Gregory marched right into it. Another buzz, another message from Lawrence. Also check the deed to the house. Walter never transferred it to Gregory. It's in a trust with you as beneficiary. He doesn't own the home he just threw you out of. You do. I rose from the bed like a woman reborn, not the obedient wife they could manipulate, but the storm they created. My legs were steady now, and for the first time in years, so was my power. The weakness I'd felt dissolved into something else, razor clarity. A quiet purpose, a cold rage sharpened into strategy. It wasn't anger for anger's sake. It was justice finally learning how to aim. Through the door, Gregory's voice cut through the house, loud, triumphant. Yeah, finally free. Talking to a broker, now selling some shares? Going to buy that boat I wanted? She'll be gone by the weekend. Good riddance. I moved down the hall on silent feet, out of sight, letting them celebrate. Denise's laugh drifted from the kitchen phone pressed to her ear. It's about time. Gregory's been itching to dump her for years, but Dad always guilt-tripped him. Well, Dad's gone, and so is the dead weight. We can finally spend the money how we want. I eased back into the bedroom and began packing opening drawers with deliberate clatter. Let them think their victory was complete. Let them picture me defeated, shrinking away into whatever small life they'd imagined for me. My phone buzzed. Lawrence, contact at Gregory's brokerage. He's already put through a $5 million sale. Set to clear tomorrow afternoon. Over the threshold. If that goes through without your written okay, the penalty clause kicks in. Everything transfers to you? I'm drafting the paperwork now. I typed, how long do I keep quiet? His answer, as long as you need. Clause is ironclad. The more he trades, the deeper he digs. Let him make one big sale. It makes the case airtight. And it'll hurt more when he sees what he's lost. I looked around at the designer furniture, the showy art, the neat designer bedding trophies Gregory collected to impress colleagues. None of it meant anything. The only thing that had mattered was that I'd given my heart to someone who'd only valued me for usefulness until I wasn't useful anymore. Walter had seen through him. Walter had known that cruelty lived behind that polite face, and he'd put protections in place. He'd guarded me sometimes without me knowing I needed guarding. I zipped the suitcase with calm, precise motions. A few days' clothes, the things I'd actually need. Leave the rest. Let Gregory spend as he pleased. Let him toast his freedom and his stolen fortune. Let him believe he's ahead. When the sale clears and the clause triggers, when every reckless trade he makes piles more violations on him, I'll step out of the shadows and show him the price of his cruelty. I walked out with my suitcase, passing Gregory in the hallway. The look on his face? Smug relief, as if he'd finally scraped gum off his shoe. Smart choice, he smirked. I knew you'd be reasonable. I gave him a real smile, calm, steady, and sharp enough to cut. Oh, Gregory, I murmured, voice sweet as poison. You have no idea how much I'm going to enjoy the next few days. His expression faltered, confusion flickering like a dying light bulb, but I was already turning away. I stepped out the front door and drove off, phone in hand. This wasn't the end. This was the opening move. I checked into a modest Seattle hotel, not because I needed to, but because I wanted him to believe I was broken and scrambling. Let him think he'd won. That ignorance would be the rope he'd hang himself with. Lawrence's voice crackled through the phone, calm and calculated. He thinks he's victorious. That arrogance will push him to move fast. Every transaction he makes without your consent is another nail in his own coffin. I sat on the hotel bed, laptop open, watching the digital noose tighten. Lawrence forwarded live screenshots, real-time updates from contacts inside the brokerage. Favors called in, strings quietly pulled. The $5 million sale cleared by afternoon. Then came the spending spree, predictable, pathetic. A yacht deposit, a luxury car, a $5,000 watch he'd drooled over for months. I smiled. He isn't wasting time. Of course not. Lawrence replied. Men like him always think they're untouchable. They forget physics applies to pride too. Everything that rises eventually crashes. My phone buzzed. Gregory. I let it ring until voicemail kicked in. Evelyn, we need to talk. I'll be generous, $50,000 to help you start over. Just sign the divorce papers fast. Let's act like adults. $5,000 out. Of $33 million, the insult almost made me laugh. Instead, I called Lawrence. He wants me to sign divorce papers for $50,000. A low, amused laugh answered me, the same one from the day this all started. Let him send them. We'll dissect every line, every lie, every lowball offer. Meanwhile, he keeps spending money that legally belongs to you. This is unfolding beautifully. By morning, his lawyer's email arrived. I sat in Lawrence's office, overlooking the harbor, the life I once abandoned. For Gregory, flashing in the glass reflection, Lawrence flipped through the papers, scoffing. This is insulting. He didn't know yet, but soon he would. Insults don't break me, they fuel me, and Gregory had just handed me enough fuel to burn his entire world to ash. He's claiming you contributed nothing to the marriage, that everything's his separate property, and that 50 1,000 is more than fair for 15 years of your life, Lawrence said, voice flat with disgust. Can he actually argue that? I asked. He can argue anything. Lawrence shrugged. But a judge isn't a telemarketer who buys whatever he pitches. Here's the crucial part. He tapped a paragraph in the file. He's asking you to waive any claim on Walter's estate. That tells me he knows there might be a claim. He's trying to make you sign away rights you don't even know exist. What do I do? Nothing yet. Let him think you're thinking. Lawrence's eyes glittered. Meanwhile, we build the case. I slid my phone across the desk. Screenshots blinked back. Another $3 million stock sale that morning, negotiations for a beachfront condo in LA, and bookings for a 2-week European trip first class for Gregory and Denise. 30,000 here, 40,000 there, reckless, eager, stupid. Lawrence leaned back, savoring the view. Your husband is an idiot. Every transaction over 25,000 needs your sign-off. He's already violated that more times than you can count. We could trigger the clause now, but you asked me to wait, and I agree. Let him get comfortable. Let him spend. Let him feel invincible. The deeper he buries himself, the worse the fallout. Plus, his lawyer missed the clause-a-mature hour. That helps us. I pictured Gregory on a yacht, champagne, glinting, Denise giggling beside him while I sat alone in a cheap hotel. The image should have cut me, should have burned, but it only focused me. Cold, precise anger. How long do we wait? I asked. Until he's pot committed, Lawrence said. Until he's spent and pledged and screwed himself so thoroughly, losing it all will ruin him. Give it 2 weeks. Let Europe happen. Then we pull the plug. And me? You play the widow. Stay the sad, broken ex. Let friends pity you, let them think he broke your heart. Record everything, texts, posts, conversations. Every boast, every purchase, every careless brag becomes evidence. So I did. I lived the role. Hotel room hollow eyes, small walks for groceries, random run-ins with acquaintances who nodded with sympathy. I let the world see the version they expected, a woman wrecked by divorce, while quietly collecting the proof that would shred their lies. Evelyn. I heard my name before I even looked up. Patricia, the woman who used to obsess over HOA newsletters like they were holy doctrine, stood there with a sympathetic wrinkle between her brows. Oh my God, I heard about you and Gregory. She gasped dramatically, like she'd been waiting her whole life to deliver that line. I'm so sorry. Divorce is always so terrible. I lowered my gaze, voice soft, fragile, exactly the version they expected to see. Thank you. It's been overwhelming. I'm just trying to survive one day at a time. She touched my arm, face dripping with concern. Real or fake didn't matter. If you need anything, reach out. I know you don't have family here. I nodded, whispered a thank you, then continued walking. I didn't need her help. I needed her mouth, and I knew she'd run straight to her little gossip circle, who'd whisper to their husbands, who'd whisper to Gregory, who'd whisper to Denise. Perfect. Let the rumors build. Let them picture me weak, broken, defeated. Meanwhile, Gregory was parading around like a king who'd stolen his crown rather than earned it. Social media became his victory parade. Denise posted daily the yacht, the luxury shopping, the designer bags she didn't have the class to carry. Thousands spent in a single afternoon like breathing. Gregory posted less, but when he did, he oozed arrogance. Champagne in hand, sunglasses worth more than most people's rent, a man who thought he'd escaped responsibility and morality in one clean cut. One post stopped me cold. 3 days after I left. A smug photo on the yacht surrounded by sycophants from his father's company. New chapter. New life. Sometimes you have to cut out the dead weight to truly soar. Here's to freedom and family. Dad would be proud. Dead weight. I screenshotted it jaw tight and sent it to Lawrence. His response came in seconds. Perfect. His arrogance will bury him. Keep collecting. Day 10. That's when the first crack appeared. I was reviewing documents. Lawrence sent me when my phone lit up with an unknown number. Something in my gut told me to answer. Hello? Evelyn. It's Judith, Walter's widow. The woman who barely even looked at me at the funeral. If she was calling, this wasn't small talk. Judith, I didn't expect... No, I'm sure you didn't. Her tone was sharp, steady. We need to talk. In person. About Gregory. About Walter. About things you don't know, things I should have told you long ago. We met at a quiet cafe in Fremont, somewhere Denise would never set foot because it didn't have enough gold fixtures to feed her ego. Judith arrived flawless as always, every line of her posture polished like a blade. She sat, ordered espresso, studied me like she was assessing a battlefield. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "I've had a difficult week." "I'm sure." She sipped slowly. "Gregory told me what he did. Kicked you out the second he touched the inheritance. Denise called me after, ecstatic. They truly believe they've won." Then she smiled. A cold, razor-thin smile. The kind predators wear when they're about to reveal the trap has already been sprung. "That all depends," Judith said, voice silky and dangerous, "on whether Walter's little insurance policy fires exactly the way he designed it to." My pulse spiked. You know about the clause?" Judith lifted a brow, unimpressed. "Please. I don't just know about it, I witnessed him at it. Walter wasn't senile, Evelyn. He was furious, and he knew his son better than anyone." She leaned forward, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. "I'm not telling you this because I like you. I don't like anyone, but I respected Walter. And he wanted you to see who Gregory really was." A chill crawled up my spine. "What truth?" "That Gregory has always been exactly what you're seeing now. Self-serving. Calculating, cruel when convenient." She exhaled slowly, almost mournfully. "Walter couldn't bring himself to cut his son off completely, so he created consequences instead. A trap. One your husband walked into face first." Then Judith placed a folder on the table and slid it toward me like a poker dealer revealing the final card in a high-stakes game. "Walter kept receipts," she murmured. "Recordings, financial logs, screenshots, everything." My fingers trembled as I opened it. The first page stopped my breath. A transcript, Walter and Gregory 2 years earlier, right after I began caring for him full-time. Gregory. "Dad, be realistic. Evelyn isn't helping you out of love. She's doing it for the money. She's hoping if she plays the loyal daughter-in-law, she gets a piece of the estate. Caring for a sick old man every day? Nobody does that without a motive." Walter. "Is that truly how you see the world, son? That the only reason someone cares is for profit?" Gregory. "Don't be naive. I know Evelyn. She's running a long con. But it's fine once you're gone, I'll handle her. She won't see a cent." My stomach twisted. All the praise, the gratitude he fed me during those months an act. The whole time he was waiting for the moment he could discard me like trash. "There's more," Judith whispered. "Keep going." The next page text. Messages 6 months before Walter died. Denise. "How much longer do you think he has, Gregory? Doctor says maybe a year. Could be sooner. He's fading fast." Denise. "And Evelyn's still playing nurse?" Gregory. "Of course. She thinks she's earning her spot. Doesn't realize she's free labor. Once Dad's gone, she's gone too." Denise. "What about the prenup?" Gregory. "I'm covered. She gets nothing." Dad tried to rewrite it last year. I felt the blood drain from my face. They weren't just planning my humiliation. They were celebrating it. They thought they were untouchable. They thought I was powerless. Judith watched me absorb. Every word then spoke softly, almost kindly, but not quite. "You weren't wrong to trust Walter. You were wrong to trust his son. He tried to argue you deserved something for caring for him," Judith said, voice flat, almost bored. "But Gregory wouldn't hear it. I heard him saying you'd had enough from the marriage. I can't wait until this is over. I'm tired of pretending to be grateful." I closed the folder because my hands wouldn't obey me. The room blurred at the edges. Tears burned, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of falling. Not here. Not now. "Why show me this?" I asked, voice small. "Because Walter asked me to." Judith reached into her bag and produced an envelope like a verdict. "He wanted you to have this only if his son revealed himself, only if he kicked you out after the inheritance." My fingers trembled as I took it. On the front, in that shaky, unmistakable hand, Walter's. "To Evelyn, the daughter I wish I'd had." Judith stood. "Read it soon, and when you destroy my stepson, and you will make sure he knows why. Make sure he knows his father saw everything and chose you in the end." She left before I could speak, leaving me with paperwork that smelled of betrayal and an envelope that hummed like a promise. Back in the hotel, I unfolded the single page. Walter's handwriting wavered, but his words were steady. My dear Evelyn, it began, if this reaches you. It means my fears were true and my son has shown his colors. I am sorry you had to learn it this way. You deserved so much better. Know this. Every hour you spent caring for me was seen. Not as calculation, but as kindness. You did it because you are good. Gregory never had that gift. I arranged protections for you. Use the clause in my will. Do not be ashamed to take what he assumes is his. He doesn't deserve it, and he certainly doesn't deserve you. There's something else you need to know. Walter's letter continued. The house. The same house Gregory shoved you out of. I transferred it into a trust 2 years ago with you as the only beneficiary. I never told Gregory. He believes it's his. He's wrong. It's yours. The furniture, the art, the jewelry, every last thing under that roof belongs to you, not him. Let him try to sell what he thinks he owns. Let him learn the cost of stealing from someone who actually has legal power. Live well, Evelyn. Find joy again. And know this, wherever I am proud of the strength you're about to show the world. With respect, Walter, I read his words again, and again, and again. Tears streamed not from pain this time, but power. Validation. Someone had seen me not as a housewife, not as a placeholder, but as a woman worth defending. I wiped my face, picked up my phone, and dialed Lawrence. I have more evidence, I said. A lot more. And I think it's time we stop playing quiet. He arrived within an hour. I laid out everything: Judith's folder, Walter's letter, every financial statement. Gregory had burned through more than $8 million in under 2 weeks. Lawrence's jaw clenched as he flipped through the pages. This changes everything. With these recordings and this letter, we can prove he knew he needed your consent. This isn't ignorance, it's calculated fraud. What's the move? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Now we go nuclear. He laid it out plainly: emergency petition to freeze every account. Gregory controls immediate execution of the penalty clause. Full asset transfer to me, divorce filed on my terms, backed by proof of fraud and emotional abuse. How fast? I'll have the filing ready by tomorrow morning. A judge should freeze his access within 48 hours. After that, he can't touch another cent. The full transfer will take a few weeks, but Gregory will be financially paralyzed. I pictured him on that yacht laughing, thinking he'd won, thinking I'd vanished. There's one more thing, I said. Walter's letter, he said the house is already mine. Lawrence's expression shifted from focused to predatory. Give me the address. He tore through property databases, fingers flying. Minutes passed. Then he leaned back, smiling like a man who just watched a rival walk into a trap. Found it. Walter transferred the house into the trust 3 years ago. You own it. Every tile, every room, every memory, legally yours. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, I knew Gregory wasn't about to lose money. He was about to lose everything. You're listed as the sole beneficiary. Current market value, $2.3 million. Gregory owns none of it. I blinked. He's living there right now, Lawrence smirked. Not for long. We'll attach an eviction notice to the filings. Legally, he's been squatting in your house since Walter died. He leaned back, and for the first time since this began, his expression held pure, unfiltered satisfaction. Evelyn, do you understand what we have? We can prove he broke the will's terms repeatedly. We can show intentional fraud. We can demonstrate emotional abuse and financial manipulation. And, he added, eyes gleaming, we get to do it while he's sipping champagne in Europe, spending money that as of tomorrow isn't his. When does he leave? Tomorrow. 3 p.m. flight. I exhaled slowly. Good. Let him go. Let him feel untouchable one last time. File the motion the morning he boards. By the time he lands in Paris, I want every account frozen and every asset locked. Lawrence grinned, a shark recognizing. Another. You've gotten cold, Evelyn. He paused, voice low, impressed. Like it. That night, sleep didn't come. I replayed every moment, the excuses I made, the humiliation, the blind loyalty I mistook for love. How did I let him shrink my world like that? Then I remembered Walter, frail in his chair, watching me with eyes that saw more than I ever realized. You're too good for him, he'd murmured once, months before he passed. My son doesn't see your value. He never has. I'd rushed to defend Gregory back then. Now, I finally understood. Walter hadn't just protected my future. He'd seen the truth long before I could bear to. Morning came sharp and bright. I dressed deliberately tailored blazer hair, pinned makeup flawless. Not to impress anyone, to mark the shift. The woman in that mirror wasn't discarded. She was reborn, forged from betrayal, and sharpened by vengeance. At 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. "It's done," Lawrence said. "The filings are in. The judge is reviewing. Freeze order likely today, right on schedule. Gregory's flight, 3 p.m. Perfect. Let him toast freedom. At 3,000 feet. Let him land to a financial obituary." I spent the morning in quiet, almost eerie calm. Coffee. A slow walk along the pier. Boats drifting by, freedom in motion. At 2 p.m., curiosity pulled me to open Gregory's Instagram. There he was, at the airport, designer luggage. Champagne in hand, caption, "New beginnings." No more dead weight, I smiled a slow, wicked curve of certainty. Soon he wouldn't just lose me, he'd lose his fortune. His home, his pride, his illusions, everything. He stole, and everything he thought he'd earned. He'd cut me out without hesitation. He forgot one thing. Woman who survives you becomes a weapon, and I had just loaded every chamber. He'd posted a smiling airport photo, Gregory and Denise designer luggage sunglasses on the caption. "Paris, here we come. Living the dream." Comments poured in. Envy, congratulations. Your dad would be proud. At 2:45 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Lawrence, the freeze order just cleared. Every account in Gregory's name is locked. Credit cards canceled. Brokerage accounts frozen. The court summoned him to appear in 3 days to show cause why the penalty clause shouldn't be enforced. If he can't prove those sales had your written approval, the automatic transfer kicks in immediately. He's probably already passed security phone off imagining champagne in first class." Lawrence laughed softly through the line. "Evelyn, in about 6 hours, your husband lands in Paris and his world goes cold. He'll try to swipe a card at the hotel and get declined. He won't get a meal, won't pay for a taxi. He's on another continent with no access to funds." I pictured them at the gilded hotel desk, exhausted and smug, then stunned when the card bounces and reality peels away. "He's going to call me," I said. "Oh, he will," Lawrence said. "What will you say?" I looked out at the water and smiled, small and patient. "I'll let him panic for a while. Let him wonder. Then when he's desperate, I'll answer and give him back his favorite line. Find somewhere else to die because you're useless now." "Cold," Lawrence said. "Not cold," I corrected him. "Fair." Gregory's first call came at 11 p.m. Seattle time, 8 a.m. in Paris. I lay in bed watching his name flash on my screen and let it go to voicemail. He called again, then Denise, then him again. By midnight, there were 17 missed calls and a dozen frantic texts. "Answer your phone. This isn't funny. Our cards don't work. Call me back immediately." I screenshotted every message and sent them to Lawrence, who was awake and ready. "Perfect," he replied. "Let him spiral. The longer he panicked, the worse he'd become." At 12:30 a.m., my phone flared FaceTime from Gregory. Against my better judgment, or because I wanted to watch the moment unravel, I answered. He looked wrecked. Hotel lobby behind him, hair a mess, an expensive shirt, creased sweat flushing his face. Denise prowled in the background, jabbering into her phone. "Evelyn, what the hell is going on?" He barked, skipping any hello. "Our accounts are frozen. Every one of them. Hotel's threatening eviction card declined. My cards don't work. Nothing works. Did you do this?" I studied him, calm as a scalpel. "Hello, Gregory. How's Paris?" I asked. He snapped, "Don't play games." "Did you do this?" "No," I said, deliberately slow. "I don't have that power. Only a court does." His face flushed hotter. "A court? Why would a court freeze my accounts?" I savored the moment. "Maybe because of the $8 million you spent in the last 2 weeks without my written approval." "My approval? What are you on about?" "That money is mine. Dad left it to me." "He left it to you with conditions," I corrected. "Conditions you broke the instant you sold that first tranche without my consent." "Did you even read the will, Gregory? Or just the part where you imagined yourself rich?" I watched comprehension arrive like ice. Anger blurred into confusion, then pure horror. "There's no condition," he snapped, voice weakening. "My lawyer said it's mine." "Your lawyer is incompetent," I said. Page 7. Any transaction over $25,000 requires my written okay. You've moved 8 million. That triggered the penalty clause. Penalty? He stammered. What penalty clause? The one that redirects 75% of what Dad left you to me. The yacht you bought? Mine. The car? Mine. The watch? Mine. The LA property you're about to close on? Void. You're about to breach a contract you can't fulfill. Hope you enjoy your lawyer. His color drained. You're lying. This is a trick. Check your email, I said. My lawyer sent everything to yours about 6 hours ago, right when you were boarding. Funny timing, huh? This is insane. You can't do this. That money is mine. Was, I corrected. And the house you threw me out of? Mine too. Walter put it in a trust with me as beneficiary 3 years ago. You've been living in my property, planning to sell it. That's theft. Denise halted inches from the screen, panic shrilling in her voice. What is she saying? The house is hers? There's an eviction notice being served today, I said, cold and steady. You have 72 hours to remove your things. Anything left after that becomes mine by default. Oh, and I'm changing the locks, I added. So don't bother sneaking back in. Evelyn, wait, please. Let's talk. Gregory's voice cracked, stripped of arrogance, replaced with panic. We can fix this. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said those things. I was grieving, I wasn't thinking. I tilted my head. You sounded perfectly clear when you told me to find somewhere else to die. I didn't mean that. Come on, we've been together 15 years. That has to count for something. It did, I said evenly. $50,000. That's what you said my 15 years were worth. 50,000 out of 33 million. Generous, really. I'll give you more, he blurted. We'll split everything 50-50. Just call your lawyer. Tell him to unfreeze the accounts. I laughed, an honest, amused laugh. Gregory, you still don't get it. This isn't my decision anymore. You broke the terms of the will. The penalty clause activated automatically. The court's already ruled. By next week, 75% of everything you had becomes mine. The rest goes to charity. You get nothing. His eyes widened. Nothing? That's not fair. My father wanted me to have that money. Your father wanted you to earn it, I corrected. To prove you deserved it. You didn't. You proved exactly what he feared, that you're selfish, cruel, and stupid. You can't do this. Denise's face suddenly filled the screen, flushed with fury. You gold-digging witch. You manipulated Walter, turned him against his own family? I stayed calm, and that calm made her rage boil hotter. Is that what you think, Denise? Funny, I have recordings. Your stepfather recorded your dear brother calling me a gold digger who was only caring for Walter for his money. Want to hear them? Her face drained of color. I also have your text messages, I continued. The ones where you and Gregory joked about how you couldn't wait for Walter to die so you could start spending his money. Should I read them now or just hand them to the court as evidence? Evidence? Gregory's voice cracked. What evidence? What are you talking about? The fraud case, I said, smiling faintly. The one where you violated the will, tried to sell property you didn't own, and attempted to defraud me of my rights. My lawyer is very thorough, Gregory. Very thorough, his panic deepened. You could see it settle into him, the first real understanding that this wasn't a bad dream he could talk his way out of. Evelyn, please, he whispered. Don't do this. I'll do anything. Just tell me what you want. I paused, pretending to think. What do I want? I repeated softly. I want you to feel exactly what I felt the night. You told me I was useless and threw me out of my own home. I wanted him to live the humiliation, the fear, the hollow uncertainty of having everything stripped away by the person he pretended to love. And you know what, Gregory? I said. You start feeling that now. Denise's scream, "How will we get home?" came through the line. Our cards don't work. We have no money, he snarled. That's a you problem, I said flat. Maybe think about that next time you celebrate throwing me out of my own house. I let the silence sit. Oh, and Gregory, that return flight you booked on the card that no longer works? Cancelled. You're stuck in Paris with no cash, no credit, no way home. Enjoy the city of light. You can't leave us here? Denise wailed. Watch me, I said, smiling. You told me to find somewhere else to die. My advice, figure it out. You're clever enough. You'll manage or you won't. Either way, not my problem. I cut the call and blocked their numbers before he could beg. My hands shook, but not from fear, from a cold, pure satisfaction. My phone buzzed. Lawrence. Did you record it? Every second I replied, You are my favorite client. Merciless, perfect. Just as Lawrence promised, things unraveled exactly as he forecast. They begged the American embassy for emergency aid, a humiliating process of proving they were stranded and broke. The embassy issued temporary travel documents and economy seats 3 days out. Those 3 days, I moved back into my house, Walter's gift. I walked every room with a locksmith, changed every lock, ordered a security system. The place felt different, not a space I'd occupied but property I owned. I sorted Gregory's things, the designer clothes, the flashy gadgets, the watch collection trophies bought with money that was now legally mine. I boxed everything carefully and stored it in the garage with instructions. For pickup within the 72-hour window, Lawrence, set when they finally returned to Seattle, rumpled and defeated their key, failed the lock. Gregory hammered for 10 minutes before I opened the door, chain still on. I stepped aside and smiled. "Hello, Gregory, let me in," Gregory shouted. "This is my house." "No," I said evenly. "It's my house. And right now you're trespassing. Your things are in the garage. You have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to collect them. After that, whatever's left becomes mine. Evelyn, please." His voice broke, tears cutting down his face. "I have nowhere to go. Everything I own is in there. Just let me stay one night while I figure this out." I looked at him without sympathy. "You gave me 24 hours to pack and leave. I'm giving you 72 to collect your things. That's twice as generous as you ever were. Be grateful." Denise pushed forward, trying to peer past me into the house. "This is insane. You can't keep us out of our own home." "It's not your home," I said quietly. "It never was. And if you don't leave my property in the next 60 seconds, I'll call the police and have you removed for trespassing." I shut the door on their protests and walked back to the kitchen, where Lawrence waited with a glass of wine and a grin that spoke volumes. "How do you feel?" he asked. I exhaled slowly. "Honestly, free." The next morning, Gregory's lawyer called Lawrence, begging for a meeting, desperate to negotiate to salvage something from the ashes. "Tell them no," I said when Lawrence relayed the message. "The will's terms are crystal clear. He broke them. He gets nothing." "You sure?" Lawrence asked. "They'll drag this through court." "Let them," I said. "We have recordings, texts, social media posts, and Walter's written words. They have nothing but Gregory's arrogance." 2 weeks later, the courtroom smelled of polished wood and desperation. Gregory looked hollow, suit wrinkled, the same one he'd worn 5 years ago. Clearly the only decent thing he had left. His lawyer, a nervous man named Howard, fumbled through weak arguments. That Gregory hadn't understood the will, that the clause was ambiguous, that the penalty was excessive. Judge Beverly Harrison, a woman in her 60s with steel gray eyes, listened with growing impatience. Finally, she lifted her hand. "Mr. Howard, let me make sure I understand your position. Your client inherited $33 million under one condition: obtain his wife's written approval for large transactions. Correct?" "Yes, Your Honor, but..." "And instead of honoring that, your client threw his wife out, told her she was useless, offered her $50,000 to disappear, and spent $8 million on luxuries while trying to strip her of her rights. Correct?" Howard hesitated. "Your Honor, my client was grieving. Your client was an idiot," Judge Harrison said flatly, turning her gaze on Gregory. "Mr. Thompson, your father left you a fortune and one simple rule: to treat your wife with respect. You failed that utterly. You couldn't manage even the smallest measure of decency." "The penalty clause is clear," Judge Harrison declared, her voice echoing through the courtroom. "It is legally sound and will be enforced in full. 75% of all assets from Walter Thompson's estate will transfer to Evelyn Thompson within 30 days. The remaining 25% will be distributed to the designated charities. Do you understand, Mr. Thompson?" Gregory looked like he might collapse. "Your Honor, please, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, just give me another chance." The judge's expression didn't waver. "Another chance to do what? To spend more money you don't have? To humiliate your wife again?" "No, Mr. Thompson. You had your chance and you squandered it spectacularly." She leaned forward, her tone final. "This court finds that you knowingly and willfully violated the terms of Walter Thompson's will. The penalty clause is hereby activated. Case closed." The gavel struck like a gunshot. Just like that, it was over. Gregory lunged toward me as we exited, but Lawrence stepped between us. "My client has nothing to say to you," he said coolly. "All future communication goes through me. Evelyn, please." Gregory's voice chased me down the marble hallway. "We can fix this." "I love you. I never stopped loving you." I turned once, just long enough to look at him, a hollow shell of the man who'd once thrown me out of my own home. His face was drawn, desperate, pleading. I felt nothing. No anger, no joy. Just a quiet, infinite stillness where love used to live. You never loved me, Gregory, I said softly. You loved what I did for you. There's a difference. Your father tried to teach you that. It's not my job to keep trying. Then I walked away and didn't look back. 30 days later, the transfer finalized exactly as ordered. I watched the numbers appear in my accounts. The stocks, the yacht, the car, the proceeds from every indulgence Gregory had ever bought with what was now my money. After fees and charitable distributions, the total came to $24 million. The Los Angeles property deal he'd tried to push through collapsed. He was sued for breach of contract and forced to settle for $200,000 he didn't have, plunging him deep into debt. The yacht, the car, the watches all sold off at auction to pay his creditors. Denise blamed him for everything, screaming that he'd promised her security wealth a future. Their partnership, once united against me, crumbled the moment the money vanished. She left the state, and from what I heard, later never spoke to him again. Gregory ended up in a small apartment in Tacoma, working a modest middle management job that one of his father's old friends had arranged out of pity. His social media went dark. The man who'd once built his life on appearances had finally run out of them. The friends who once congratulated Gregory on his freedom disappeared the moment he couldn't afford to keep up with them. Money was the glue that held his world together, and once it dissolved, so did everything else. I sold the Seattle house eventually. Too many ghosts lived there. Instead, I bought a smaller place overlooking the water in Portland, peaceful, honest, mine. I started consulting again, surprising even myself with how quickly my old instincts returned, and I created the Walter Thompson Foundation, dedicated to helping victims of financial elder abuse. It felt right. Walter would have liked that, turning pain into purpose. 6 months after the court ruling, I received one last message from Gregory, a handwritten letter delivered through Lawrence. Evelyn, I know you won't read this, but I have to write it anyway. You were right about everything. I was cruel, selfish, and stupid. My father saw what I couldn't. He tried to teach me through consequences I was too arrogant to believe in. I lost everything because I didn't value what mattered. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I finally understand what my father wanted me to learn. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. Gregory, I read it once. Then I filed it away with the rest of the evidence, another artifact from a life that no longer belonged to me. Over the next 3 years, Gregory's life continued to crumble. His reputation in Seattle's business circles was beyond repair. The story of how he'd violated his father's will spread quickly, and the same people who used to toast him at rooftop bars now crossed the street to avoid him. Denise moved to Phoenix. She never spoke to him again. His career flatlined. The luxury cars, the designer suits, the arrogance, all gone. He was left with nothing but the echo of everything he'd thrown away. He lived quietly in a modest apartment in Tacoma, a man once defined by excess now reduced to ordinary. That was the real punishment, not prison, not poverty, obscurity. As for me, I built a life that was completely my own. The foundation thrived, helping families protect what mattered most. I traveled. I laughed again. I dated sometimes, but I wasn't in any hurry to replace what I'd lost, because I hadn't really lost anything. I'd only been freed from it. Sometimes late at night, I'd think about Walter and the extraordinary gift he'd left me. Not just money, but belief. He'd seen my worth when I couldn't see it myself. That was the real inheritance. The rest was just interest. Looking back now, I realized something simple and devastatingly true. The best revenge isn't destroying the person who broke you. It's becoming the person they can never have again.